Okay, hello everyone. This is J360 with another video about Frost. And now with the release of the third variations for all the characters and the most recent patch, I think it's time to give my early impressions on Arctic Anarchy, which is Frost's third variation. Now, in this variation, we have quite a bit of a change from the other two. So, replacing her Augur lunge, which was back forward 4, is now the air ice quake. Air ice quake, similar to Cyber Sub-Zero's dive kick, or pretty much any dive kick move in this game. Then we also have her Augur. So instead of using the drill as a forward advancing special move, it is now a projectile that is high. Pre-patch this was mid as it did track, but they've made it a little faster now and easier to use in neutral. And lastly, instead of having glacial calving before, which was the shield that would absorb a projectile, she now has core overload, which buffs all of her attacks coming from her core. So things like 2-2 and back 4. And lastly, she still has access to cryo stance and the projectile bomb, which is one of my favorite moves on Frost. So she still has some of her core kit, just reworked in a way where she can still land combos mid-screen. It's going to be a bit less damage, but it's definitely a playstyle that fits in as a viable third category for Frost. Now, my early impressions on this variation is that I do feel that this can closely be second to the Ice Machine. I still believe Frostbite, for me, is in last place, simply due to the inconsistencies of the bomb and the very, very small hitbox it has. But it still has its uses. I do feel with Frostbite, it feels like you're giving up damage for potential setups, whereas in this one and in Ice Machine, you have stable combos, you have things you can do, and you have combo extenders mid-screen, so the damage is better. Now, I quickly want to just go over each one of the moves and why I think this variation is a viable tournament variation, and that's simply because she now has mobility and projectiles to use mid-screen. And here's what we're going to go over. So first, the Augur lunge. That is now just the Augur. So this is the projectile that is a high, right? So it can be ducked easily just by neutral ducking. Now, the thing with this projectile is that if you notice, it's slow enough to kind of linger over a character, so they can't just outright duck and punish you. Now, there are some characters that from this range can down for you, or can maybe roll in, like Kano with his forward 3, can roll in and hit you with something. However, most of the cast doesn't necessarily have a way to reach Frost at this range. Now, this is even outside of her back 2 range, which is one of the most dominant normals at this range in the game. This is a mid, and now you have a high that outranges that and is actually 5 frames faster. So the Augur projectile is 14 frames startup and is plus on block from anywhere outside of the back 2 range. So I just want to show the frame data here. So up close, it's going to be -10 or -9. So it shows -10 at the very, I guess, just at the very beginning of the move. Now, she can be punished by anyone with 10 frame or faster normal or special this close, but just one step back, and this is still -10. Whoops. One step back, and we have +1, which is a bit weird, right? So let's say I'm here. I take one full step back, and now -1. So here's the magic. +10, +18. She's highly plus the farther she is away, and this is the max distance right here in which you can still land it, and you're either +17 or +18. So this means in neutral you can throw these out and start moving fairly quickly. this is huge for Frost, because normally at this range, Cryo Stance is a bit too slow. It is 16 frames and it hits wonky, but it doesn't really lead to anything. This can actually be hit confirmed directly into a combo. Now, I did mention that it outranges back 2, so many characters like Scarlet, or even, I'd say, Devora, that have normals that can contest Frost normals, will not be able to reach Frost at this range. Now, the Augur itself is also the combo extender and pressure tool. So just to quickly show how this works, she has things like back 2 into Augur Lunge, which leaves you -1, back 1 into it, back 1, 2 into this. All of this is true block string. Now, just to show, I'm going to try to contest some of the strings. So now that I'm controlling Cetrion, I'm going to set Frost to do back 2 into Augur Lunge. Now, even at this range, I can't. I'm mashing down and 1, and it's a true block string this close. Farther away, you can kind of get away from it. And this is if you're already blocking low. I'm already blocking low, so I'm going to be jailed from this close. From a certain distance, you can mash down 4, but you're not going to reach her. So this is pretty good. Reason being is that back 2 for a very long time was Frost's go-to. So she would do that, but she would get flawless blocked, right? So she would get flawless blocked and then launched and comboed. Now Frost doesn't necessarily have to worry about that, because she can also do things like this, right? So back 2 into that can be flawless blocked, but if she just does back 2 into this, she can still full combo confirm on hit, and she can be granted a combo at that point. So this is a game changer for the way that Frost actually applies her pressure, because she now has the footsie tool to still be able to combo off of at maximum range. Now, there is a range right outside of back 2 where if you hit the tippy tip of back 2, the knockback is too far for the Augur to hit and combo, so that is the only downside. However, at this exact range, you can still land your back 2 cryo stance. So if you do feel like it's not going to hit, you can always combo cryo stance. And that's the beauty of Frost having both far and mid-range projectiles. So her neutral game has changed quite a bit, and it's given her variable frame data, which is something that Frost did not have before. Variable frame data is what makes it harder to fight Frost in this game now, because she can be plus or minus depending on where she does something. Before, she was locked into her frame data, so if she did a back 2-2, she would be the same minus every time. If she did 2-2, she would be on block +5 every time, regardless of the distance. So now she has quite a bit of variable frame data, so it can be a variance of -10 or +10. And that makes this variation a bit wonky. Now, just to show a few B&Bs with this, you're going to notice that the damage is quite low compared to Ice Machine. Ice Machine would give you around 33% damage off of any given hit that was grounded, and granted you corner carry. Now, this variation is very different. The corner carry is here only within a combo landed on a grounded opponent, because she no longer has Augur Lunge. However, she doesn't need the corner as much as she does in the other variations because of Air Ice Quake. It gives her awesome mobility and a great punishing tool for whiffed anything across screen. So just to show you some of her bread and butters. So 1-3 into Augur Lunge, went into the Augur projectile, into back 1-2. Now I know it seems like it whiff there. I just have to be a little closer. You need to do a full dash. in order to get that, and it's gonna net you 25%, a little above that. Now, I suggest whenever you can to be able to get a back 1-2 as a combo starter, because this does enable Frost to get much more consistent damage off of this. Well, easier, I guess, if you're in a laggy environment or so forth. So if you do this, they stay much closer, and you still net yourself 24%. This is even possible as well if timed correctly. On larger bodied characters, you can always land it, but as you see, I'm having a little bit of difficulty. I wouldn't recommend going for that every time, but you can land that kind of combo with a back 3-2 down 1. For some reason, I'm not getting it right now, but on larger characters like Gearus, you just do a micro dash and you'll get it. Most other characters you'll whiff, and it's really not worth the risk. Just kind of showing you so that you don't make the same mistakes I have in the middle of matches. But very consistent combos. If you want to knock them far away and grant yourself advantage to load a core overload, you would go ahead and use the Spinneroonie. Now that gives you quite a bit of advantage. And if you want to keep them close so that you can continue projectiling them, you just do Head Bomb. Now that's if it wants to hit this time. You just got to do that a little quicker. So if you use Head Bomb, you're back in the range of the Augur Crushing Blow. So I like using this setup just in case people don't want to roll, or they want to kind of just get up and do any sort of wake up. I think this is a great bait on wake ups. If you're within that back 2 range where you kind of have always pressured them on wake up with back 2 or bomb, now you have the ability to combo off of an Augur Lunge Crushing Blow. Now, aside from that, I just want to kind of point out that the back 2-2 works as well. But as I said, it can be very inconsistent. If you hit it outside of max range, you'll notice that it doesn't combo. So once you're in this range, you can use back 2 if it's on a read on a forward advancing move to get the combo, but I would always recommend just going for back 1-2. Because this brings you in and you'll have a much easier time getting combos off instead of trying to interrupt something with a 20 frame back 2. So it's 19 frames, but... and it's harder to combo off of. I would just recommend always, whenever hitting an Augur projectile into this, just always do a full dash. If you do a full dash every time, you'll get the combo. Full dash every time. So it doesn't matter which hit you started with, full dash every time, right? 1-3, back to 2 are harder to do it with, and you can still land it with a full dash. Now, I just wanted to show that just for consistency's sake. But I feel that the best pressure off of this is back 1-2 into the Augur projectile. And just a quick test. To show this is a true block string. Even if I'm crouching, I can't counter poke her, and she's gonna be -5. So back 1-2 into the Augur projectile is gonna be your safest bet, and you have the ability to walk away after that. Even if I try to just neutral duck, I'm pressing nothing, I'm getting hit. So yeah, there you have it. That's the Augur projectile. I feel that it really changes the neutral, even mid-screen. And in the corner, it can be quite devastating. So imagine this. Frost is poking you from max distance back 2. And let's see. Frost is poking you from max distance back 2. And she has this follow-up to it, which grants a little pushback since you're in the corner. If she's within the range of the max distance of the Augur, it's going to push her back. So what you can do is neutral duck to try to defend against this, but then Frost is still in a favorable position. She no longer has to take this risk. And when you're in the corner, you have quite a bit to get off of this. So you can do pretty easy combos. She recombos into a meterless one. I just want to show off the max distance. Into knockdown, you can do a core overload if you like, but you would just really be giving away your advantage. You can always kind of go for your combos and keep this same position back. So outside of roll range, outside of wake up range, you still have this punish tool. And if they go crazy and they try to just do some sort of a reversal, you're far enough to always confirm this. So you'll have your crushing blow loaded, and you'll be able to really oppress in the corner. Now, her corner game is different now because you constantly have to stay at this range to really be a threat. Before, she would be able to restand you. I mean, well, not restand, but freeze you, keep you grounded, and then kind of get you into some of this action. But not so much anymore. Last thing, because I can spend all day talking about Frost, is just showing the frame data for this when meter burned. Not only is it gapless, if meter burned at the proper spacing, but it's also plus just like her normal one. Now, her normal Augur would be plus 11 here, right? If we go for it again, it's plus 3. But you have a safe combo attempt from max distance. And to be honest with you, that's heaven sent for Frost. Now you could play a very slow, methodical, punish-oriented, with punishing-oriented playstyle without having to take much risk. I just want to move on because this video is going to be an hour long if I keep talking about everything I want to talk about. But the dive kick, the air ice quake, is really, really good. And I want to show why. Now, this move itself has two variations. When you hit up top, it has a slight bit of pushback and you land, and that's it. Like, you're either going to be negative 15 as it shows there, or you can be minus 11 if you do it lower, or even minus 8, minus 9 the lower you do it. So the lower it is to the ground, the safer it is. Minus 8 with slight pushback is pretty much unpunishable. Now there's a second animation to this. If you do not hit a character on the way down, she slides across the screen, and she now commits herself to a full screen slide. But I just want to show how this looks. She can travel full screen, which is huge against characters like Cetrion, and be minus 7 on block. Minus 7 on block. That is unpunishable by normal. It has to be a 7-frame special to punish it. Now, this means that she gets in, and she's now in a range where she doesn't have a turn, but she's in front of you. So then she gets to back up and kind of try to get back into this space. So the air ice quake is really good in a sense also where you can pretty much consistently get minus 9 if you cancel it off of a jump and kick. A deep jump and kick into this will grant you a fairly safe dive kick. Also, just as a bonus, you can stuff block attacks too. So let's say I want to see which one this is. Okay, that's the invincible. You can't stuff invincible ones. But something like this Oh, that's actually not her launcher. That's the invincible one. The launcher ones get stuck, so you can't flawless block launch Frost on jumping anymore. You have to use the invincible ones. And even when she does it at this distance, she's safe most of the time as well because of the arc of her kick. But yeah, once again, variable frame data. You have something that goes from -15 to -8. So this makes her so strong. Look at that, -19 to then canceling this into -10. Now there are counters to it, just to show, because we have to be objective about everything. When flawless blocked, it changes the frame data in a really weird way as well. So when I do one really high and she flawless blocks it, it's -18, right? But if I do it really low, -11. Now when I do it off of this, it's -9, because you can only flawless block the first hit, right? If I do this one that says -7, it's going to be -17 on flawless block. So you're full combo punishable at that moment. Now granted, this is very hard to flawless block. It's a move I could do at any point in time. I could just do it off of a hop kick. I mean off of a hop and just get one fairly quickly. So flawless blocking this isn't necessarily something I see happening too often. Yeah, lastly, just quickly, I want to go over the core overload. So this is a move, as I mentioned before, that buffs her moves like 2-2, back 4, and really just anything that comes from her chest. I think those are the only two, honestly, but what happens here is that she gives up whatever frame advantage she may have on knockdown to kind of go for this, and sometimes it's worth it, because if you land, let's say for instance, a combo like this from really far, and you don't want to end it with a forward 2, you'll actually get a little bit more damage if you do it with a trip, so a back 4. That's if I actually get it. Whoops, I'm terrible at showing this. Yeah, back 4 has pretty far reach, and you'll get a buffed back 4. A bit more damage on it. Really nothing to run home about, but core overload just makes her look cool to me so far. The functionality is a bit weird because it goes away if you're hit, or if you are if you successfully get a grab, or if you're thrown. So they made it so that the enhanced version can't just be timed up and then go for an invincible, well, an unblockable attack into it. So what happens now is that it doesn't seem like much of a rushdown tool. This is more so if you're trying to hold a lead and then you want to make an attempt at a dive kick. If you can time it properly, like let's say you're blocking, and then you go in, and if they block it, and if you time it properly, you'll make them block the freeze, or they'll get hit by it, and you'll either get a combo or you'll be at neutral. So your dive kick would be safe, or really any combo attempt would be safe. So I could even go for that, and it'll be safe at that point if I get that, right? So it's a bit weird. It's I haven't experimented much with it yet, but it's something that I can see potential in it. But to be honest, I find the head bomb better than that, and the head bomb isn't something that many of us Frost players enjoy relying on. The best part about this is, though, that you don't have to rely on core overload. The core, ironically, the core tools you'll use in this variation are this and this. And you still have access to all of your zoning tools. All of them. So then the moment somebody starts trying to zone you back, you can do this. If you're mid-screen, you can do faster projectiles. It's much better. So I do feel that this is Frost's mainly zoning kind of, well, I'd say like hybrid zoning, anti-zoning variation, because she has very bad mobility outside of this dive kick. So she has the opportunity this time around to be able to zone you and counter zone characters like Cetrion, like Kano, like Noob Saibot. They have to be very careful with how they zone now because she has the option to get in. So yeah, in summary, this move is awesome in neutral. It's even more oppressive in the corner. It is a high, but you can jail into it, and you can full combo punish off of it fairly easy. Air Ice Quake is great to actually counter zone. It's safe when done right, and can be quite annoying to deal with. And Core Overload to me is not the most useful thing in the world yet, but it does give her a bit of extra damage, and it helps you kind of utilize her back four more. It makes you think about it. But yeah, those are my thoughts on the character so far. I'll release a B&B video just to kind of follow this up later tonight or tomorrow when I do have time, but just to kind of show what you can and can't do with Frost compared to the other ones. Alright, this is J360 and I'm out.